to analyze, to develop programs, then you go to the working class and peasants, convene after 3 years, reflect on the work done, and so forth. Comrade Petros, climate change.
Right. First of all, the comrade who's in charge of that department has already left to go to Harare. That's Lenin Chisaira, who is a lawyer who runs an NGO which deals specifically with the questions of environment and climate change. So I think we've elected a very good person to that position. Now, what we've got to look at is that climate change is not just in Zimbabwe, it's happening worldwide. But you see, in Zimbabwe, people always like to blame government for everything. And of course, they've got a lot they can be blamed for. But there's other things that we have to take into account when we're looking at things objectively and scientifically. One, people could talk about Zimbabwe as being the breadbasket of Africa in the past. But in 1980, we had less than half the population that we have now. That's without looking at diaspora. So you've got the land doesn't increase, the population has been increasing. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is that since independence, we've generally had much less rainfall over the years than prior to independence, and that is because of climate change. Now, one of the things that's happening at the moment is because of lack of electricity, people are even cutting down more trees than before, and they're not replacing them. Now, what scientists involved in climate change have found out is that one way to deal with it quickly, and it does work to some extent in a local environment, is to plant trees. China, which was the biggest polluter, has got the biggest tree planting program ever in the world. India has also had a huge tree planting program. And Ethiopia, which has been denuded of trees, has put trees back. You can drive along. If you go along a road which has got plenty of trees overhanging, you'll feel how much cooler it is. Because if the trees are there, they call the rain, because the rain clouds will pass over. If the ground is very hot, they will not release the rain. If the ground is cooler, they're more likely to reduce the rain, to let the rain fall, as well as the fact that the trees take out the carbon in the atmosphere and it becomes part of the tree. So it's absolutely essential that we grow trees. But by the way, I'd like to just, we're talking about development in rural areas. Comrade Jusa, I think you've been involved in planting trees in Manicaland. So it's not something we're just talking about, it's something we've already started in one part of the country. Can you just tell us something about that, Comrade Jusa? What you've been doing in terms of tree planting?
Yes, we have started planting trees in Manicaland, specifically in Mutare district, in schools, primary and secondary schools. So this is a project that we are starting right now. And we are looking forward to work on this to develop the method of planting trees so that you can deal with the issue of environmental and climate justice.
There's one other thing that I would just like to talk on. On climate change, where we can make a difference. One of the new technologies that's coming up, even beyond the electric car, is hydrogen cell cars. Hydrogen cell cars need platinum. And hydrogen cell cars burn hydrogen, and sometimes you can put the water straight in the car, converts to hydrogen and oxygen, you burn the hydrogen, and then you get water in return. It's a very clean technology. We, as a platinum producing country, could be a center for an industry in involved in the production of hydrogen cell vehicles. That's all I want to say. Now I've finished.
He's the national commissar, so he can actually start to recruit you at any time.
Yeah, if you want to join the party, just come.
We will take a last round of questions if any questions are. Yeah. Or the question on the structures in rural areas. I think he kind of addressed that. Let me take away. He was explaining about state power and the elective process and the mentality that then the question when posed, the thinking is towards 2023 election, but I will let him just expand again.
We in the organizational bureau that the Congress said we must establish as part of looking at building the party, we have in that organ the rural organizer, a person that would be responsible for linking with what I spoke to earlier on to say building unity amongst others rural organizations to begin to say how do you build, firstly creating relationship, how do you work with the rural communities through their own organizations, can you then build study groups, Marxist, Leninist study groups in rural areas, building party structures. So that is the work of the organizational bureau that has been set up by this Congress. What we would expect is that the Congress that have been elected in that structure, they are going to go and develop an action plan which is implemented, and we then come up with what we call a monitoring mechanism to monitor the work that is happening. So the Central Committee will pay more attention on that, because in the cities is organized labor, is organized informal sector organizations, intellectuals, and then others, and then in rural communities. This is what we'll be doing. But what I was just simply trying to say is that we are not building structures for an election, because if you build structures for an election, beyond the election, those structures will not survive.
We can take another round of questions.
Lastly,
Yes.
no, I didn't hear you mention your president. I want to find out whether you were a president for this ZCP.
Yeah, any other? Yes, sir.
Yes, we come back to the critical issue. I would say the real issue is we talked about the national, preferring a national economic dialogue as opposed to what is happening, which probably those maybe they are political. So, and you've also said in relation to the economy, you don't believe in foreign direct investment. Right? So maybe you could elaborate more on probably how Zimbabwe can make it without this issue of foreign direct investment, and on the issue of that's the first issue. And then the second issue on the national economic dialogue. Are you prepared to participate in an economic dialogue? Because you are obviously not going to dialogue by yourself. But this is an idea which we are bringing forward, which probably needs to be publicized, right? Sort of an opinion which might get a lot of interested people when we now talk of the national economic dialogue, because we talked of business community, we talked of farmers, we talked of the bank. I'm sure that idea might infiltrate in this considering the economy wave. So are you yourselves prepared then to participate in the national economic dialogue, and how are you going to carry that idea to the people?
Any other question? Maybe no question.
In your presentation, you did highlight that you are in a kind of economic crisis. And then we had been in such a situation, I think, 10 years back, where we saw SADC intervening because in Zimbabwe having inclusive government. And recently we saw the former South African President Thabo Mbeki coming back to Zimbabwe, meeting with the different political parties, And people have been asking, are we headed for another GNU? What is happening with Konati and this and that? So maybe from a Zimbabwe Communist Party point of view, what should be the way forward in as far as resolving this crisis is concerned? Is Mbeki qualified again to be the mediator if ever there's going to be a coalition government or whatever arrangement that is going to come out of maybe the talks that are ongoing? What's your position? What's your statement?
Okay, thank you. Comrade, yes.
Thanks, comrades. Sorry, I'm now saying to you, comrades.
Comrade is a friend. Comrade is a friend.
A communist party does not have a president. We don't use the title of a president. But communist parties use different titles depending on their own conditions. For example, the Communist Party of China, the leader of the party is the chairman. We all know, we are familiar with Chairman Mao. We use the title of General Secretary for the party leader. We don't have a president. So you might find in other countries or other communist parties, they will call the leader of the party as General Secretary. Others, they will call you a chairman. Those that are also copying the communist philosophy or design, they will call theirs first secretary. You are familiar with that term.